I think we're in a season of maturity, and we're really pushing and galvanizing our folk and our friends and our people we walk with to come to a place of maturity as sons and as kings.
Yes.
That's why we do this.
And these relationships that have been developed over the years, and we were able to collaborate with them in a way that blesses their house while we're being blessed in it. And I think that harmony and that unity is truly glorious.
When we all show up at a conference, we're carrying something that has been deposited into us from the previous time we've been together.
Because it has been just absolutely wonderful to see what Yahweh did in our midst. Hi everybody, we want to welcome you today to our podcast, Hope for the Future. We have with us several guests, Ricky Nieuwenhuis, Ellinas and Lindi Masters, that have been with us at our Hands of Time conference. And today we thought we would just do a bit of an open chat to get you involved in what we have been doing over the conference time, because it has been just absolutely wonderful to see what Yahweh did in our midst. And so I want to welcome you all, and I want to welcome these guys today. If you guys just want to say hello to everyone, just so they get to know who you are.
Yeah, so good to be here on this podcast. It's been an incredible week, and so looking forward to getting into it today and talking about some of those things that unfolded.
Yeah, it was a magnificent week in every way. Very grateful to share about it and to potentially meet new people through it and have them be a part of what we're doing.
It's great to be together with people, to share breaths, to share experiences. So it's been fabulous being with people from around the world and sharing breath with one another.
I think one of the reasons we do this kind of thing is to try and bring people into an understanding that there's more than just going to church on a Sunday. I mean, my whole objective of bringing people together in a corporate body, Scripture says, is don't neglect the fellowship of the brethren, and we think that that is just going to church on Sunday. But really, for me, it's about sharing breath and being with one another and building those relationships. And I think all of us have re-established relationships. So how did you find it from the relational connection point in the conference? Because I mean, for me, it was ballistic. It was just amazing.
I think through COVID, we did a lot of online stuff, and it was nice because we had to stay connected that way, but we definitely missed the physical interaction. And I find that's what people are loving, is that the physical interaction is there, and there's something really powerful about when a group of people come together physically and worship and gather together, that something actually really does happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long in these meetings for people to start to connect and build a bond, whereby we are actually collaborating to land something and establish something, and not just attending as a participant or as a spectator.
Yep.
And it's a couple of sessions in, that bond starts to form.
Yes.
And by the time we're done, you feel like you're so closely knit with everyone that you did something together.
Exactly. And like as Lindi was saying, with the time that we got to spend online, and then now being able to be in the same room with people was phenomenal. You could actually see the excitement in their eyes when we all walked in and got to hug each other, and it was amazing.
I think that's the thing that I enjoyed most of all, is finally hugging people.
People,
When you see them online,
Yeah.
and then they come out to you and go, "Hi, I've been online. It's been so good."
I know, I see you online.
And I know it's so weird, because they often come to me and they say to me, "You seem so different when you're here in real life. Like you're normal online, you kind of this other person." And I don't see that, but perhaps it's because of the lack of relationship thing. So for all you folks out there who are listening to this, please feel free to get onto any of our websites that'll be holding our conferences in the future in there. And please feel free to come and join us. It's just absolutely wonderful. So let's talk about highlights. I don't really know what's my highest point. So maybe let's talk about our highest point for you all and see what was the best part of it for you.
I was totally overwhelmed by the expectation that people came with to worship. That was phenomenal. I would say from the first day, just to see the activity that was happening within Yahweh's world, within the midst of what we were engaging with, to start a conference like that and to see people engage and to see people, they were crying like from the very start of everything. And that for me, I think set a framework for what unfolded to now have a place to rest.
I tell you what, for me, like it was almost like we didn't we didn't even finish last year's, you know, when we were here last year, it's almost like we picked up where we finished last year.
Yeah,
and
right.
it was so good to come back into it. What about you guys?
I felt like there was a pattern. That the individual teachings were phenomenal. The standard of excellence is so high. There was a depth, but there's this pattern that developed whereby we fit really well together. Those of us that collaborated in ministering, and also the audience, that where there wasn't any competition, there never is, but there wasn't any awkwardness like someone doesn't fit or this doesn't belong here. Mm-hmm. Everyone was doing what each individual is called to do, and it worked.
I think the scripture says that we like living stones fitly joined together.
Yeah.
So we were fitly joined together, but the worship was wonderful. I love worship. We've done worship for many, many decades, really. And to see the expectation in the worship, and also to realize that people haven't come to have worship as a prelude to some teaching, but as part of the teaching, as a facilitation to step into, through the veil, into the realms of the kingdom. So that to worship with a group of people that understand that is phenomenal. So it's not like first song, we're just checking everybody out. It's like first song and we're stepping through the veil. It's a facilitation.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think I really enjoyed also the break times. Like the room was so noisy with people talking to one another, and these people that only come together once a year. The thing I think for me I really enjoy is that the band that we have playing in worship only meet together once a year at this conference, and they all play together, and there's no practice. Your practice is about 10 minutes before the thing. And
It's a sound check, basically.
The sound check is a practice. I think from memory, one of the things that you said, Ricky, was that what are we doing today in songs with the key of A?
Yeah, that's it.
That was the practice.
That was the practice. And so it's so good. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the highlights, like which you can just go and have discussions about them. But what were some of the highlights for you guys? What was...
Man, I loved watching people trade. After all the years we've walked through these things, for those who may be new watching this, we give spontaneously. We call it trading. And we give into the revelation. We trade into the revelation that's being released while it's being released. And it took so many years of contending to establish this because there was resistance to it. And we had to deal with this and always explain it. But this time, it was so amazing. Effortless and seamless, and the people loved doing it. We couldn't stop them from trading. If we tried.
It was consistent as well. The whole way.
Amazing!
Every session was just amazing to see the love of people for engaging a process that we've established for 10 years now, just in the middle of the meeting, and to see the litter of the heart of people. You know, it talks about how they put palm leaves down before Christ. When he was walking, it was, for me, it was almost like that. They were just, through their place of encouraging us to go, come on. Because for me personally, I could feel it. Like when they would trade in something, it just kind of gets you going like, that was really good. Like, let's do this more. And it was stunning.
Even after the leverage trade, which we do a bigger trade at some point to when the government is established and Yahweh is moving in some way. And even after that, the session following, there was just as much trading as there was
more.
Before.
In fact, I think
it was more. It was one of the
highest ones.
It's just amazing.
I love how people come prepared as well. They come prepared. They don't get prepared when they're there. They come prepared.
Yes.
And so there's no surprise.
Yes.
And then a lot of folks said, I am trusting for XYZ. That was my leverage trade. I traded for leverage for this particular thing. Yeah. Businesses, amazing, houses, moving, whatever it was. And that's phenomenal. So we're really excited that people have really jumped on board this. So we thank you guys for teaching us how to do a good leverage trade and to do it well before the Lord.
Yeah.
And to see people do it. And then for the testimonies afterwards, people say, this was my leverage and this is what happened, is phenomenal.
Hey everyone, it's so great to be here. It's really great being with Ricky, Marius and Lindi. We do a live webinar every month called Four Faces, and it's been such a wonderful time for us to be around a table like this and really be inviting you to come in to be around our table. So we look forward to having you there with us.
That's awesome. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. The link is in the description. Please sign up for our next one, which is coming up soon.
My dream is to have a realm just open up where we don't even have to talk about physical healing. We don't even have to lay hands on someone because that perfect that has now come, which is the realm of his glory here in a tangible way.
Wow.
And some lady came up to me, and I haven't shared this with you guys. She came up to me with tears in her eyes, And she said, Ian, you don't understand. I've been healed. And I go, what do you mean? She said, like just in the middle of worship, we were worshiping in the last day, and at the last session there, and she had a issue wrong with her eye, where half her retina had come away from her eye, and she couldn't see with it. And during the worship, she closed her eyes, and she felt the pain open her eyes, and she could see out of her whole eye.
Wow.
And she, like, it's no big fanfare. This,
That's amazing.
like, to me, normal. Like, this is.
This should be normal.
Yeah. Anyway.
This should be our reality when we do this.
And it was tangible. You could
Yes, oh my
tangibly
goodness.
feel. I mean,
It was amazing.
do you want to share what happened in the last session? You
yeah.
literally felt.
Yeah, I was standing next to Ricky, and we were doing worship, and an angelic being walked past me, and I didn't feel, I felt the touch. It literally touched my hand and then walked past, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
It was amazing. And then just this realm of glory, which I think came on the back of, walking the blue sapphire stones, and the teaching that you and Dwayne really succinctly put towards, forward. We were literally walking on that blue sapphire stone in the worship. But then I began to see the steps open up that Solomon walked on as he ascended, and they would come to watch him. And it was, I was really holding on for dear life, because I thought I was going to just disappear.
That's amazing. Like, how did you guys find it? No.
I was very aware of creation responding the moment. I mean, Ian, when you got up to speak for the first time, it was tangible. The auditorium really felt like it was dark.
Yeah,
and then
I thought they'd turn the lights out. I was the same.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we could hear the rumblings of thunder, and then the flashes of lightning, and
then the hail. I mean,
yeah.
The stupid thing is they have storms, but if it happened once, it would be okay. If it happened twice, it may be okay. But 3, 4, 5, 6,
Correct.
7, 8, 9 times, and suddenly you got to start paying attention.
And then during the session, all of a sudden, everyone's phone started to go off with the tornado alerts, and that's when I looked at Ian, and you weren't here.
No,
but it's all good. We know the look from Ian.
Yeah, we know the
look. He's not here.
Come back.
That was awesome.
I also like the fact that we were in a house of friends that we've had over the years, all of us, with individuals who are very highly placed within a church movement, and yet very open to what we're doing. And there was such a standard of excellence and love and hospitality and largeness of heart on their part. Everything was immaculate. And we were able to come into this facility that's been so well stewarded, and these relationships that have been developed over the years. And we were able to collaborate with them in a way that blesses their house while we're being blessed in it. And I think that harmony and that unity is truly glorious.
Yeah. I for many years, for those folks who haven't been and don't know anything about me or what we do, I'd been in a church for 24 years serving, and then after a period of time left the church to begin to pursue what I was doing here, and really in my life had to walk through some of the things that had gone on. And when we had a meeting together with the musicians first, I felt a flicker of almost like the pilot light, lighting in for a hope for a body of people that they can go beyond just going to church on Sunday and actually go onto the journey for sonship. Yeah. And then and one of the folks that was with us there, another senior minister from another movement, really, to hug him and feel the barbecue flame, like when you see gas and your barbecue flame, and it kind of lights the gas down. And for me, I felt like the pilot light had been lit with the guys in a conversation of worship. And then when I hugged this guy, I felt my heart reach out to just engage with him. And it was almost like the barbecue flame was lit. And I was, for me, that was a major highlight for me, because it just means that there's a hope in me now for everyone to come into this arena of sonship, and it's not a rejection of a system or the church place itself, but more of a maturing out of a system. And that's the thing for me that has really been exciting to watch happen here. So many senior leader people who are in their ministries involved as autonomous empowered people doing their thing and coming together and just going ballistic.
There's a catchphrase around the body of Christ at the moment of deconstructing out of church. But that in itself can be dangerous, because if you deconstruct out of something, you've got to find your way into something.
Right.
Yep.
And some people have, been so hurt by church structures. I understand that, to be fair, in any given congregation, if anybody put up your hand who hasn't been hurt in the church system, nobody would. So deconstruction in itself is all right, but you've got to come into something else, and coming into this type of thing that we're trying to, develop, not even trying, but we are really well developing into something, is giving people a hope, like you said. It's that hope that it's not coming into a church system, it's coming into sonship and taking responsibility and maturity. I think we're in a season of maturity, and we're really pushing and galvanizing our folk and our friends and our people we walk with to come to a place of maturity as sons and as kings.
Yes.
That's why we do this.
Mm-hmm. So let's have a talk about then, if we are in a conference like this, the main drive then is to push and encourage people into maturity. So what's the difference between a conference and just going to church?
Yeah.
What's the function of why we do this?
Going to church week to week develops a pattern, and it becomes part of a system and a program that has to be sustained in order to maintain the attention of the people and the interest of the people. As a former senior leader of a church, I know that there are certain things we had to do to keep everybody happy, to make sure people keep coming, to make sure that we can continue this machinery of the church
100%.
going. And there is none of that in a conference setting. We're free from that system that says it has to be this way, otherwise they won't come.
I'm quite fascinated with the mandates that are given to us through the journey that we've been on.
Yeah.
So we carry things within our hearts from a conference that we've done now and conferences that are still to come. There's a process now of us walking through the maturity to now behold, and it gives us time to steward the things that have been revealed to us, so that when we all show up at a conference, we're carrying something that has been deposited into us from the previous time we've been together. Because when you start thinking that way, you're not connecting it to time under the sun, if that makes sense. You are beholding this process of walking together in maturity and the responsibility that's been given to us and that's been entrusted to us.
So for those folks who don't understand that framework of what's under the sun, just a quick 30-second synopsis. Under the sun means anything that's in the corrupt realm that is connected to the realm of death. Being above the sun is being an observer and bringing that realm of Yahweh into the place of death and undoing the clock of death, where corruption has to put on incorruption and mortality has to put on immortality. So when Ricky was just referring to under the sun, that's what he's talking about. Like for me, it's so weird for me personally. I come into a conference with like these teachings I prepared myself for, got things ready to go, and I've got my sessions to do, and then something changes, and I get there, and suddenly half of the notes, a quarter of the notes that I prepared, I've done in an hour, and I've got to look, what am I going to do with the rest of them? And because there's a whole lot of other things that come in. And the other thing that happens for me personally is I go to a conference with all these things, and Yahweh goes, no, I think you need to do this. But I've done all this and ready to get for this. Yeah. And I love the freedom we have. We were having a discussion about, it was me, Lindi, and Ricky at one stage together, because we decided to have a Q&A at the end of it. And we were arguing, oh, no, you can preach. No, I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, no. And it was this little backwards and forwards little banter. And I think this is why I love coming together, is there is no competition to try and be something. No. And all of us are willing to sit at one another's feet and learn from one another. I couldn't want anything better.
Yeah.
In a form of a process like this. And just being able to change sessions around to do what we want to do, and know that if Yahweh intervenes, well, I don't speak and I'm happy.
Yeah.
If Yahweh does something, I'm good to go. Like, I don't care. I just want to be amongst it all.
And we would come to support. We don't come to speak. We come to support.
Yeah,
so we support anyway. Right. We wouldn't come if I don't have a stage or platform or something to say. I'm not coming. We just don't behave like that. So it is about supporting one another and everybody.
Yeah. So for me, it's almost like I consider, like we do 2 conferences here, one at home, and then we do one here in the United States, just to engage with the community, really. And it's hosted locally, so it's wonderful and all of the necessary process. But for me, it's like having a family party.
Right.
Like everybody comes in and is like, "Ah!" and it's just so stunning.
And yet when it's time, when it's moments of serious engagement and soberness and intensity, and there's glory in the room, everyone knows it's a different, it's not a party anymore.
Yeah.
The party brought us here.
Serious business of heaven.
They know their part, they know their function, and they step straight into it.
One word, maturity.
Right.
I love the last session of worship. Like, it was just phenomenal for me. Like, being able to, for me, sense and feel for the first time since Moshe and the 70 elders walked on the sapphire paved work of stone, for us as a body of people to begin to, through faith, just engage and walk on it. And the things that were spiritually, for me, unfolding as we were doing that was just, like you felt the angelic stuff, like it was just amazing.
It was intense.
It was just amazing.
You said something once, you said that we get homesick because that is our home. That's where we've come from.
Yeah.
And so when we step into it, it's like there's this, I'm homesick. I remember. This is the place I'm most comfortable in, because we are homesick for that place. We're just sojourners walking through this, and I've always remembered that.
In this process of what we were doing, it was really our heart was to access Salem. Like, that's what Abraham went looking for, and I think all of us in our teaching, we're all kind of hungering, but all from different angles, trying to get us to a point where we can come in what do we need to do to entangle with that.
But also, Ian, we never come with a, what are you preaching? What are you preaching? We come together and we always end up
speak the same thing,
stealing
each other's notes.
Anyway,
I thought it was so fascinating when you were describing Salem and what the city looks like, and how the colors are not the colors that we see in the spectrum here, and all these different things. And I was next to Ricky and I was saying, bro, that's exactly how I've seen it. It was such a confirmation of things we'd seen and experienced and encountered that we haven't discussed. And everything just jointly fit together, like you said, the living stones.
But like with Solomon, you really are so excellent at your teaching in the honor of Solomon. I wouldn't have known that what I was stepping into in the worship and what we were facilitating was the Solomonic ascension in the tabernacle. I wouldn't have known that. But because you'd frameworked it, I was like, oh, I know where we are. Oh, this is how he did it.
But this is why the word's important.
Yeah.
This is why the scriptures is so important for us and needs to be the backbone of everything we do, that lays the foundation for us to be safe, to be able to explore these things. And I think that's another thing that I find a highlight in the conference. I love listening. Like, I'm serious. I really love listening to the revelation you guys speak, because I love what's happening behind you. Like, if we as a body of people can understand that when someone's talking, you recognize the voice behind the one that's speaking, that actually is them, but is it?
So good.
Right.
Or is it actually Yahweh that's actually really trying to engage you in something that's different than actually being said? And if you really listen to the words, sometimes there's this like little pitter patter of feet and the wind just goes past and you go, oh, I mean, Duane was one of the other guys who did a session for us at the conference. But when this leader was speaking to us, and he unlocked the structure of these things out of with Jeremiah, with Elijah and Elisha, and because of what we had been doing the session before, the day before, he and I looked at each other. We were just like, bro, and we both had exactly the same thought. There wasn't even what he was teaching about, but the revealing of a pattern that had been unlocked the previous day. Right. And to me, this is what it's all about. Like this is life. Yeah. For me as a son, this is life.
But I'm honored to you, Ian. I've been doing this for 4 decades. I remember being on TV once in a country that's not hard to get on TV, but we were on there, and he would like ask a question. And as you're answering him, he'd look in his notes and look around like this. I'm like, bro, Look at me. So everything we were doing was based for the TV audience, but nobody in the room was engaging with the response. And it's like, oh, okay, this is weird. And then as I'm finishing, look up, that's amazing. And then it asked another question, and then I'd answer, then it's like looking around, doing other stuff, talking. Oh, that was the oddest thing I'd ever done. And often found that even in senior leaders, they would come in at the end of worship. They would, while you're teaching, they'd almost look bored and be looking at their watch. And you think, oh, I feel like such a loser. But you are so involved. All of you are so involved in each other's stuff. It's like, it's not a case of, hey, I'm talking. It's you get so involved in it, and you start looking at what's going on around the people that are speaking. Ricky does the same. Maurice is, throwing money, doing this thing. And it's just, for me, this whole realm that I've come into is my home. It's my safe place, because I've done this for a long time.
Yeah.
And to find people that actually genuinely want to be there, senior leaders.
And listen and engage.
And we're not treating the people in the conference like commodities.
Yeah.
Means to an end, but we're all actually trying to get to something.
Yeah.
It has been a breath of fresh air.
And outside of this community, this is not normal. Because I had about 5 or 6 people come up to me and go, we've been watching you.
Really?
When someone's up there and the speakers are sitting, they are so engaged with what's happening. And for them, they said, it's not normal, but it's normal for us. It's normal for us. We want to be there.
Yeah, I don't understand any other way. I
Correct.
don't walk another way. So
No, I'm
never...
at the point, if anything happens and he starts going somewhere, I'm just going to grab hold of the end and go with him. Don't leave me.
I often say, I wonder what would happen if I started to float off to the ceiling.
No, I would be holding on.
And then, you got to tie you down with a rope to the ground. I wonder what would happen. I wonder how many people would actually come then, because there's a sign on the wonder that they can see instead of the journey.
Well,
I don't think we're too far. I don't think we're too far away from that.
Stepping into some sort of treasury room of heaven and Solomon and all. I'm there. I'm holding on. I'm going.
Ian gets Enochized.
Enochized. Me and Ricky coming.
When Ricky talked about the spirit of justice and the angel of justice and how that all functions and operates, the fear of the Lord was so strong in my life in that moment. It was beyond revelation for me. It was penetrating layers deep into the inner core of my being and bringing transformation in a way that I think is going to manifest in the days ahead. So that really went far and deep. And we have this thing now where we don't go up to someone right after they're done and say, that was so good. Because it's not even fair to say that. There are no words. At some point in the day, maybe I'll find the courage to say thank you. And that's the best I can do, because it's so profound. You don't want to minimize it by saying, good session.
Well done.
Yeah.
What is the thing that you say? Was it Ricky? Somebody comes up to you and says, what was it?
You've grown so much.
You've grown
So much. Oh, man, you want to trigger me? Come up to me and say, Rick, you have grown so much.
Just seeing such a maturity in you. You've grown so much. Oh, Jesus.
But on that, exactly what Maria said, when that moment happened, I was so undone, because 2 years ago, I saw holiness and righteousness walk upon my land back home where I live. And to feel them the way we did during this conference, I was totally overwhelmed, because I knew they were coming to establish something here within the midst of creation. Yeah. And we had a part to play with that.
One of the things I think I love about the things we do is it's not about my success being the key. It's about my success being the key for everyone else to come into a piece of what we're doing, rather than just look how good I am or what I'm doing. I've often made this statement, and it seems to be now beginning to be echoed by people around and engaged with within the people that attend and come onto our websites and engage with us in our journey, that when one wins, we all win. And there seems to be, for me, a birthing of hope in people.
Yes.
I don't have to be where Ian is now. I don't have to be where Marius is, Lindi, Ricky. I don't have to be where these are now. We can just be in the paddock and just doing a piece and engaging towards this. And if I'm down here winning, then they can get a piece of inheritance. And I often think that David did that with his mighty men.
Yeah.
You know, it's those who stay at home, in Scripture it says, David said, those that stayed get the same reward as those that went. And I think that seems to be what Yahweh is doing. That's why I love the conferences and what we do in this arena.
That's one as well. Those who came in later to work got the same wage as those
Yeah,
who
yeah,
were there
exactly.
all day long.
Yeah.
So the whole issue of if one wins, all win. You know, if I win, you win. It's not so you can be lazy. It's because I've opened a gate
Yes.
that you don't have to pound on.
Yes,
Because I've
right.
opened the gate. You just have to step through the gate and just follow protocol. We don't have to pay the price to open the gate because it's already open. I remember someone saying, I don't agree with this. And I understood what they were saying, but at the same time not. Because Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. So do what I do and step in. And I think the premise of that is really powerful.
Yeah. It's so
Another part, Ian, is I noticed in this conference, and it was a highlight for me, that people are tracking with you, particularly with your teaching, a lot more than any other time I've been with you. In that many of the people in the audience are members, and I hope some of the ones listening to this will consider that membership and different levels of membership in Son of Thunder, and also involved in the other platforms represented here. And so you didn't have to plow, you didn't have to explain, you didn't even have to say, go get the recording, because everybody has it.
Yeah.
Everybody's nodding, everybody's trading, everybody's tracking, and it's a lot easier for you to facilitate what you're called
you
to
have to do,
facilitate.
yeah.
And
so
also,
good.
Four Faces, which is something we're doing together, which is actually, I just realized we're all here.
Yes, we are.
all of us who are a part of Four Faces. Again, all these things converge, and in a setting like this, it all seems to come together seamlessly to keep building instead of having to take a step back and bring everybody on board.
So good.
I mean, I'm already looking forward to next year. Like
Right.
you know, I'm my heart's already tethered, thinking, I wonder what it's going to be like next year. If it's like this year, and this is better than last year, and there seems
But
to
even
be.
further to what Morris is saying, remember when you asked, has anybody not got silver or gold here? Which is something we love to trade with money, but silver and gold in honoring, the beings.
Oh, yes.
And you asked that question.
Very little silver went out.
Yeah, 5 years ago, if we had asked that question, there would have been 85% of the people there would have never have touched a silver coin.
Or even known how to buy a silver
or
coin.
even owned one.
Yes.
And now when we did that, there was 11 people in total that didn't have a silver coin out of 200.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like,
profound.
That's profound.
That is unreal, but also
Again,
shows.
welcome to you guys. Well done to you guys. Because you've really done a good job.
I can,
all have
I can
work.
remember
Doing
our
this,
labor and some of the stuff in conferences. Oh, Holy Spirit, help me.
I'm so glad we are not there.
Too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's beautiful. It's because we are honoring the beings of gold and silver, something in Christendom we didn't know was a thing, which we've now learnt because Judaism always taught that everything was a being, and we've now figured it out. But I remember meeting for the first time in my life, can I share that, where I met gold for the first time, is you told me to pick up this guy called Marius, and that it would be good for us to get to know him and have him come over. And I remember being in the meeting, and they were trading, and just being walked towards me, and I went, oh my word. And it was gold. I thought, I think I've just met gold. Not knowing anything about Marius or what he carried, but then gold walked with him. And then we did a meeting, and then he was part of everything we did after that. But we did a meeting in England, and I saw this being to do this turn and peep around and look at him very intently. And it was silver. And I phoned him and I said, Marius, silver is so interested in you right now. And so that's the reason because I was talking about like the stuff that comes off them is like shedding of hair, the gold dust, the silver, the stuff. But we're wanting to get to know the beings because wisdom says true riches belong with her.
Yeah,
she has gold and silver.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to learn the true riches of heaven, not the stuff that flies by night.
It's amazing. So can we kind of come back and center back around the conference and talk about some of the other highlights of it for us, just so that people who went there can get encouraged to perhaps engage and maybe come next year or whatever. What were some of the other highlights for you?
Some of my highlights on my notes look like geometry. They don't look like words any longer.
Just pictures.
Geometry. It's pictures and triangles and squares.
During one of the breaks, an individual was showing me something in their book, and it was a teaching from yours, Ian, that you had done during the conference. They had about 6 or 7 pages of notes. And I'm like, was this from like last year's conference? You're like, no, the session that just finished. I was like, you kidding me? So I understand now the maturity that's in our community is because people come not just to hear, to be motivated, they're coming to be taught, and they're taking this seriously. And that moved me to know what we carry, right? What we are carrying and what we are bringing to a conference like that and establishing. People are taking this very, very seriously.
But with it, there's joy. That's the other thing I love about it. Yeah. It's not the happy clappy stuff. There is a genuine joy at the journey, and so many people are getting their own stuff. You know, for how many years have we gone? Right. This is what I'm doing. Get your own stuff. Just get your own stuff from Yahweh. And now people are coming around, and we're starting to find that everywhere we go, which is, for me, is phenomenal.
I also loved how several individuals came and expressed a previous frustration with or confusion with the things we do. A couple of individuals used the word, I was triggered by some of the stuff you guys are doing. And now I get it because I focused on the character and started to trust your character and figured if you have character, all this stuff will get sorted out. Wow.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's massive.
That they didn't evaluate us theologically as many movements would, but they evaluated us based on maturity and character, and everything else got sorted out. And over time, they got it.
Yeah.
Amazing, eh? I also find too that there's a lot of people that struggle with the semantics that we use in language that isn't necessarily used in a wider body of people. And I think that is one of the things too that I'm finding is that one of the highlights for me is to watch people not look at you when you say something that is a little bit out of the box.
Yeah.
They don't just go, huh? They sit there going like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's for me, that is...
Well, there were people that said this is the first conference I've been to.
Yeah,
I've just been listening to some of the stuff, and I'm not sure I understand all the words you're using, but I'm committed to this thing, and so we've spent a good 5 or 6 years changing our semantics, changing the way we speak, and trying to un-Christianese our stuff, because we do have Christianese words that we use that are even a-biblical.
Yes.
And we're trying to undo that so that we can get back. One of the things that we're often accused of is being and not like in the word and not using Bible words, but I think we're so much into the Bible words that some of the Christianese words are now becoming foreign.
Yeah, true.
Right, that's just true. Another highlight for me was to see a building that was hosting a conference becoming a home.
Yes.
Nice.
To see new people.
That's good. I like that.
To see new people for the first time coming to a conference, not knowing anyone and not even an hour. And they had friendships. They were sitting together. They were sharing meals. That's a home.
Yeah, it is.
And that for me was amazing to see that.
There was a lady there. There's three of them that came up to me towards the end of yesterday, and she said, Ian, I only just discovered you on YouTube about 3 days ago. And she said, all my life I've been struggling because I've been told that what I'm doing and seeing is not right. And then she said, I came in and I heard you talking, and all this stuff in my life went off. Finally, I found like I was at home and it wasn't foreign, and I wasn't alone and a foreigner anymore. And she said, I'm in. What do I need to do? What do we need to do to get into this? And so...
Well, that's what happened with me.
Beautiful.
Because I've always been shut down. I'd always been like the freaky one, or she sees things, or she does weird stuff. And then, so I just shut it down and just started getting really quiet about it because I just got tired of being ostracized for it. And especially as a woman alone, because then you start getting told you're a Jezebel and a cult leader and all this crazy stuff. And then meeting you reluctantly, I was just sick and tired of pastors and meeting you and then telling you some stuff, and you went, and these are the words. Oh yeah, but that's normal. And that thing set me free. That was like, oh my word, I found my home. I found my people. Because everything, and I kept trying to shock you with some more stuff, and you kept going, yeah, that's normal. Don't call it that, call it this. I'm like, oh my gosh, he knows these things. And so that was my home. So for those of you who are listening to this, where you have felt like people just don't understand what you're doing and the stuff you're seeing. Some of you have been born doing this. You didn't have a choice. You just were. And so this is your home, and we try and create something that I've always framed is we create the riverbanks in which you can play. Yeah. And you can do the stuff that you do. Riverbanks are always necessary so that we don't become a marsh. But the riverbanks, what you do within the riverbanks, you can swing from the chandeliers. Yeah. You can see, you can do, you can go up and down and whatever. It will just guide it along to that place of maturity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we can hang all the chandeliers at the top of the church building from the roof. And because that's the only thing that's left to hold on to, because we're off the ground already. Especially my one at home that goes up 15 meters.
Oh, my lordy.
I so appreciate, Ian, that your focus has always been the pursuit of Yahweh and His world, and the focus on not being positive for the sake of positive and just everything's rosy, but with the judgment and the justice and the plumb line of heaven in it, we are positive and not looking into the world of the demonic or all these things, all the chaos going on in the world. I so appreciate that outlook. Good. And I would say to anyone looking to get out of what they see every day, the clickbait, all the things that are clouding us, the concerns, the geopolitical issues, to get out of all that and to come and just look into the eyes of Yahweh, into the world of Yahweh. You've done that so well. You've brought us all along to do that. And it brings life. It's about life.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and also pulling us out of that demonic thing, constantly looking at the demons, the demonic side. You've shown us how to turn into the future, how to look into the future.
I can remember, in my own life, missing a hope for the future.
Yeah.
Like, what is my hope? And so for us then, in the last kind of few minutes as we come into this end of the podcast, what do you think is a role that Hope for the Future plays in what we do in conferences? Like, what is it? What do you see as different?
I have one right away. I noticed there were a lot of young people in this conference.
Yeah.
Including one young man that I've been walking with for more than a year. He was actually a child when I first met him. He was part of my Kids to Kings.
Really?
And he's an adult now. He's 6'2", and I didn't realize that. I thought he was a little boy. Because I always see him in a screen on a Marco Polo, and next thing I know, he's taller than me. So it's just that's my hope, is that these young people are getting it, and they're framing their lives and now their businesses and all their endeavors and their future hope in what we're building with the language, with the infrastructure, and with the blueprint.
I think there's one thing that I can say for all of this is that it's no longer, I need you to support me in me becoming a minister somewhere.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm a young man in a business or a young woman in a business, entrepreneur, got a hope for tomorrow, laboring away to do what I got to do. And this is what I'm doing. And coming there with energy and just trying to unfold all of that.
Yeah. Jake and I have just done a young adults, young mystics group, a camp, and we were talking about the most amazing questions that they ask about the realms of the kingdom and about being an entrepreneur. And some of them pay to roomers and do stuff like that, and they're 12. My youngest kid that pays me at room is 9.
That's amazing.
Because of the understanding, but the questions they asked and the stuff they talk about, they have no Christianese background at all. This is the thing, and that's our hope for the future, is that we're doing, the parents got it, and they're beautifully training up their children to do it.
I think one of the key things for us really is realizing that tomorrow is better than today. I think for me, some of the theologies that we've believed in our past has really limited us in looking forward to tomorrow. I used to have people that said to me, I'm not going to have kids because Jesus is coming back. I don't have to go and work in a business. I don't have to work. Why work? Yeah. Why save? Why have kids? Why have this? Yeah. And I think that what this whole kingdom entrepreneurial angle has unlocked is that there's now a hope for tomorrow. That actually, what happens if I live forever?
Well, they think this is their belief structure
Yeah,
now.
exactly. And
So now we have to train them. Thank you for your training. We have to train them now so that they can sustain that hope for the future.
Yeah.
if we were to look at the conference as a whole, why did it give you a hope for tomorrow?
Because I believe together we could glance into a future, peg ourselves in that reality, and then pull it into our day. You start feeling things, you start beholding things, you get excited for what tomorrow is going to unfold for us. Because under the systems and structures of the earth and in the church, there's so much doubt at the moment. There's doubt of the future, there's doubt of finances, there's doubt of relationships. When you step into your position as a son in Yahweh's world, there's so much hope, because hope is the tangible reality of that what we have seen now waiting to manifest around us.
I think, like, if we look at scripture, it says, in these days there would be wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, famine, disaster, earthquakes in diverse places, disasters. Like, these are things that we can't stop, and so many Christians are trying to stop them. And I think we get caught onto the earth by what we're looking at, instead of realizing our hope is in heaven. Our hope is in our Father's world, and our hope goes beyond the physical construct of what is here that is limiting. You know, when I look at the angel of death, that isn't really an angel of death, that created an observation of corruption, so it died within itself in Egypt. All it came looking for was the blood. And so our hope really is to be positioned in that blood so much that when all of this stuff comes walking, it passes our door. Because remember, the children of Israel were in where all that stuff was going on. They were not separate from it. They were in the same cities.
Yeah.
And yet it did not come near their doors. And for me, this conference and what we do provides an avenue for us to look to tomorrow, as you say, peg into it, and that's my anchor, and then start to
There's
dream.
no distraction that can find us.
Yeah, and then start to dream. That's my dream for tomorrow. It's like walking on, I'm going to come back to this thing before we finish, but walking on the sapphire paved work of stone, that for me has changed everything. Like, I mean, I've been a bit of a spirit nut in all my, I would describe it, mate. Like, I mean, whatever you want to call it. I'm a spirit freak, whatever you want to frame it that way, but a conscientious son turning my attention towards Yahweh's realm, so it becomes my predominant occupation, rather than looking at the world and what's going on in the world. And the hope for tomorrow to be able to access the supply. I mean, you know, the 70 elders with Moshe walking on the sapphire paved work of stone, seeing the heavens open in their fullness, seeing the God of Israel, and then sitting at a table. Like, this is what's opening for us. It's not just Jesus is coming
And I
back
think
tomorrow.
we've always in the church thought that'll happen when I die and I go there, but you're talking like it's right here. And so it's that duality of I am here, but that's there. And so bringing, as it is in heaven, so too on earth, bringing that there and make it, like you said, pulling that there into my future and into my present here. So it's, for me, the hope is we're not waiting to die to see that, to walk on those stones, to do
today.
that stuff. But it's the duality of I can do it every day, all the time. Yeah.
I mean, my hope, imagine this, my single hope is to be able to live forever. What would you do if that was your hope?
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Oh.
Everything changes.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for being with us. Just as we've debriefed a bit about this conference here, I hope you enjoy this podcast, and we really look forward to seeing you next year. Have a great day. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.